Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 884A, and today's date is February 3rd, 2016, and the title of the episode is More Countries Are Now Pushing Cashless Societies. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. The interview with Rob Kirby has been uploaded to the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel. You can go over to YouTube and you can see the video there, or you can come over to the x22report.com site, just scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, or you can go to newssentinel.com. Same thing, scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, you'll see the video there. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, ADP came out with their employment numbers, and they don't look good. Growth has tumbled now. Now, in December, they had this incredible surge in employment. I mean, one of the biggest improvements in the year. And today, in January, employment tumbled back to where it was, which shows us that something was manipulated. Were they counting the holiday jobs, including it in their numbers? Because we are seeing huge layoffs. I mean, Yahoo, 1,700 people. And we are seeing more and more layoffs in this year, where companies are now announcing not 10, not 20, but thousands of people that are going to be laid off. And if all these companies are laying off, where is everyone going to find this job? And when we see ADP coming out with their information, we're starting to realize that everything is continually manipulated. But what's very odd is that since that surge in December, ADP employment change has dramatically dropped, and we're seeing initial jobless claims trend upward, which shows us that it's getting harder and harder for the manipulation. People can't find jobs. And the jobs that people are getting, as we know, are part-time. If they get 1, 2, 3 jobs, guess what? They're counted as 1, 2, 3 full-time jobs. So everything is completely manipulated to make everyone feel that the country is doing fine. But that's not the case. We look at real estate. There are bubbles everywhere in the real estate market. Actually, real estate is one gigantic bubble. And it's starting to pop. I mean, what we're seeing right now is the number of sales, they are declining. We're starting to see that prices have flatlined, and in many areas, they are coming down. Many people are now emailing me saying, yes, I am seeing it in my area. People have homes on the market now for 90, 180 days. They're continually lowering their prices. And in New York, we're seeing that sales have declined since the last portion of 2015 going into 2016. In Miami, we see the same thing happening, where people are having a huge amount of trouble selling their homes. This is how it starts. So I went around the country and I looked around, and I have some graphs on the X22 Report. Those people on YouTube can see the graphs. And we're starting to see the decline in prices, and we're starting to see the sales decline. And when I look further around the country, the real estate market does not look good. Now, the U.S. government central bankers, they know this. They know what's happening in the real estate market. They can only manipulate it so far. They use hedge funds, investment companies, foreigners to basically purchase these homes with cash to try to keep the market up. They have the banks keep houses off the market to drive prices up. And they've been doing this since 2008, 2009 to pump up the market once again. But they're starting to realize that this cannot continually pump up the market. So they're going to do what they did back in 2007 going into 2008. And we know that the pool of credit-worthy borrowers is finite. And that's a problem for them. And we can see this is why they want illegals coming in, because they can take out more loans and blow up the bubble. So what do they do to get more people in? Well, they're going back to what are called liar loans. And those people with these liar loans, guess what? They can lie about their income. And it opens up a whole new area of who they can let in to take out loans. They're also bringing back the Alt-A's. They're making a comeback thanks to big money managers. Now this time it's a bit different because the large banks are steering clear of the market. Virtually none of these Alt-A loans are being sliced and packaged into securities like we saw in the subprime. Instead, private equity firms, hedge funds, and mutual fund companies are playing a larger role as buyers, placing the loans into private funds that are sold to institutional investors and wealthy clients. Here we go again. So we have liar loans, where these are extended to people who have no proof of income, and we have Alt-A to bring in more people into the market. Now, if we have a healthy market and everything is going perfectly where it's natural, you don't need this. But what they're doing is they need to take it a step further because this is not going to bring in enough people. So what we're seeing is there are two senators, Michael Bennet and Johnny Isaacson. They're creating a new bill called SAVE. Sounds great, right? Sensible Accounting Value Energy. Amendment 3042. It's the SAVE Act. This SAVE Act would effectively further subsidize government-backed mortgage loans under the pretense of energy efficiency. The bill imposes new regulations on loans insured by the FHA, the Federal Housing Administration. These regulations go further than most of the current mortgage rules, however, because they dictate an increase in the amount of money that people will be able to borrow. For example, the proposal requires the expected energy cost savings from conservation programs to be included in borrowers' debt-to-income test. In other words, loan applicants will effectively have their income increased because underwriters will be required to reduce borrowers' estimated future living expenses. Regardless of whether their actual living expenses decline in the future, borrowers would qualify for larger FHA loans as a result of this requirement. Overall, what we're seeing here is the SAVE Act will inflate home prices beyond the level that the existing federal programs already did. And the SAVE Act will encourage additional borrowing via government-backed mortgages with low credit standards. They're doing whatever they possibly can to keep these bubbles inflated. This is what we're seeing at this point. Why? Because the system is falling apart. And it's going to continually fall apart as we move forward. We see markets chief economist. Well, they don't have good news. They're saying the U.S. upturn has lost substantial momentum over the past 2 months. And new orders are at their weakest since January of 2014. ISM services has now hit a 23-month low. And they're looking at this and saying this is not a good sign. Manufacturing, as we've been watching, has been continually declining. It has not been getting better. And it's not going to improve anytime soon. We see the Baltic Dry Index. It has fallen another 7 points to 303. What does this tell us? It tells us that the economy is slipping into this depression, into the abyss. And this is going to hit hard when everything comes crumbling down. And of course, everyone's saying, no, there's no recession, there's no depression, there is absolutely nothing wrong, everything is fine. Just go about your business. Don't worry about all of this. Well, isn't this what they told us back in 2008? Everything's fine with the housing market. Housing prices don't decline. Subprime, we got that covered. It's contained. Don't worry about Bear Stearns, Lehman, the banks. Everything is fine. And what happened? One day, everyone woke up and the entire system just fell apart. Well, this time, when everyone wakes up, it's going to be 100 times worse. Because the U.S. government, the central bankers, have been driving this economy into the ground. They've been stealing, raping all the wealth from the people. And they're at the point where they will not be able to control what's going to happen. And they want to control it. But first, before this happens, they need to get the cash from the people. They can't have what happened in Greece happen in the private Western central bank countries. They can't have people take out their cash and keep it in their homes. This is a no-go for them. How else are they going to implement the bail-in documents if there's no cash in the bank? Makes it kind of hard. So we see a number of countries right now. They are making a call to ban cash. We're seeing Norway, DNB, the largest bank, saying yes, we need to do this. We see Germany now, Angela Merkel's coalition government. They have proposed a 5,000 euro limit on cash transactions and the elimination of 500 euro notes. Now, we're seeing that each country is going to jump on board with this, and they're going to use terrorism as the reason to justify why they have to ban cash and why they need to limit cash. Of course, what they do is they do it very slowly. Oh, we have to limit cash. It's because of terrorism. This is how they're paying for everything. And if we get rid of these larger bills and we only allow people to withdraw this amount, this will cut down on what is going on. They're also using the argument that they're going to help stop criminals from laundering money. So they're using all of this to convince everyone this is why cash needs to be banned. And as a reminder, the gradual phasing out of cash strips the public of its economic autonomy. And what we're seeing right now is that they are pushing this as hard as they possibly can. And when we see them push even harder, the collapse is getting closer. Because they need to implement this before it happens. We see the TPP, the leaders of 12 countries are going to gather in New Zealand to sign the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now, this act is largely ceremonial. Looks good. Everyone's going, oh, look, all the 12 countries are in on this. But we have to remember that each country, they need to ratify this before anything happens. Even here in the U.S., it has to be ratified, and the Congress has to approve it. And then the president has to sign off on it. So this whole thing about 12 countries signing it is basically a propaganda tool to show everyone is in on it, even though there's protests occurring all over the place. Many people in Europe do not want this. People in the United States do not want this, because we know once this is signed, basically corporations, central banks, full control of what happens. And they will turn the U.S. into a third world country. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.